the people in power had gave that reign to Diddy, and Jay was next in line. I got a call from one of Diddy's people.
Okay, this is set up.
Yeah. And I didn't say who it was.
Right.
You know, and I just said he wanted to talk to me.
Okay.
And if this person wanted to talk to me,
right,
you know, so it had to be for Diddy, because I never with.
You need to delete those videos right now. That's what Diddy allegedly told his bodyguard after a night that would later become central to the case against him. The courtroom fell silent as the bodyguard revealed what he was ordered to hide 5 seconds. Later, Diddy's legal team frantically called for a sidebar that lasted 20 minutes, but it was too late.
I'm gonna need you to get rid of all the leftover pizza boxes. The what? All the boxes left over from the pizza. All the boxes. Okay. Make sure you recycle the plastic like we talked about. Yeah. Did Jay reach out yet?
The scary part is that in certain circles, ordering pizza doesn't mean food. It's a way to describe arranging under-the-table deliveries of not-of-age workers, as if they're menu items.
I could have just kept my mouth closed.
Period.
I didn't have to tell Miss Wallace nothing.
Dang.
I didn't have to say nothing to nobody. That's what people don't understand. I chose to. You understand? They want to make up the stories they want to make up. And that's what you get this internet. You got a lot of people making up stuff. But then when the stuff come true, they look stupid. They don't say nothing.
He was the man who knew too much, and now he's talking Roger Davis. Diddy's former head of security sat on the witness stand, looking nothing like the intimidating figure who once shadowed hip-hop's biggest mogul. His voice barely carried to the back of the courtroom as he began what would become 7 hours of jaw-dropping testimony for 8 years. Davis wasn't just Diddy's protector, he was his shadow, his secret keeper, his fixer. I was with Mr. Comey typically 18 hours a day. Sometimes more, Davis testified, his eyes fixed on the prosecutor, rather than his former boss. I saw everything. The courtroom tensed at those 3 words. Everything, that's what had Diddy's lawyers shifting in their seats. The prosecutor's first question seemed, innocent enough, how long? Did you work for Mr. Comey's? But Davis's answer, from August 2015 until January 2023, created an instant timeline of secrets, kept that period covered exactly the time frame. Investigators had been struggling to document. You could practically see the defense team doing the math in their heads. Then came the moment everyone was waiting for, Mr. Davis. Do you recall the events of March 13, 2022? Davis's demeanor changed instantly. His shoulders stiffened. He turned for the first time since taking the stand and looked directly at Diddy before answering. The courtroom erupted in whispers. The judge called for order. Yes, I remember that night very clearly. Davis replied, I was instructed to implement Security Protocol 7 when asked to explain what that meant. Davis described a system where certain rooms were put on communication blackout. No phones, no recordings, no witnesses, except those already inside court documents. Don't lie. The prosecution displayed 6 text messages sent from Diddy's phone to Davis the morning. After the party need to see you, now read the first, make sure everything from last night is gone, read. Another Davis testified he met Diddy at this Miami home at 6:30 a.m. and where he found him agitated and paranoid. The real bombshell dropped when the prosecutor asked why Davis finally agreed to testify after initially refusing to cooperate. Davis took a deep breath. He told me my family would pay if I ever spoke about what. I saw the courtroom fell silent. Even Diddy's normally expressive face went blank. Every time Davis began describing the security protocols for Diddy's private gatherings, the defense team jumped up with objections, but the judge allowed most of the testimony, especially when Davis explained how those protocols changed completely when certain unnamed guests arrived. Regular guests went through standard security, VIP guests went through none, he stated.
My reaction was, he's up to the same games. You know, my reaction was, he never mentioned Cassie's name in that apology. You know, so to me, he didn't humble himself enough. I think he said what people wanted to hear, not what he felt. That was just my opinion about it.
The actual level of violence has been very shocking to people to watch any man do that to a woman, particularly a very high-profile man doing it in such brazen public manner in a public place like that was even more shocking. That he had no compulsion about doing this where there may be cameras. But was that indicative of Diddy's general behavior towards women?
In my light, I would say yes. In my light, I would say yes. It didn't surprise me when I saw it because I've seen things to this nature before. I've gotten in between things of this nature before. And this was back in 2012. As we heard, he came back to the hotel and he paid to get the footage, but didn't know, which Cassie said inside her complaint, that they gave her a copy of the footage also. You know what I'm saying? So when you go through life just paying your way out, I really feel like he wasn't sorry about that. Yeah, he might be sorry now. He's sorry that he got caught.
How many times did you personally witness him be violent towards women?
Around 4 or 5 times.
And was that all with Cassie, or was it Cassie and other women?
I seen him with Cassie, and I seen him with Kim Porter, his kid's mother. I've seen them get physical. I've seen him get really physical, grab him up. It was one time that Cassie mentioned inside her lawsuit where she said she had to go over to the London hotel.
Applied to take drugs. Did you witness that?
Well, I definitely witnessed that. You know, drugs was a regular thing there for both of them. And I didn't have no idea that he was forcing her, though.
The names he mentioned sent shockwaves through Hollywood. That's how the courtroom reporter described it later. I watched several jurors physically recoil. When Davis started naming names, one juror even covered her mouth in shock. These weren't just random celebrities. These were A-listers who dominated magazine covers and award shows. The prosecutor's approach was methodical. He displayed photos on the courtroom screen. One by one, Mr. Davis did this individual attend any of Mr. Combs's private gatherings. Simple yes or no questions. At first, Davis answered affirmatively to about a dozen celebrities, mostly expected names from Diddy's social circle. Nothing explosive yet. Then the prosecutor showed a photo that changed everything. Davis hesitated. He looked. This own lawyer who nodded slightly. This person was on the VIP list. Davis testified when asked to explain. He dropped a bomb. Mr. Combs kept a separate list for certain guests. These names were never put on official event documentation. They were kept in his personal phone under code names. The defense lawyers immediately objected, claiming this was speculation. The judge overruled. Davis continued explaining how these special guests were handled differently from the moment they were invited. There was a specific languageist in texts to these people. Davis explained normal invites would mention the party, but for these guests, the text would mention catching up or the after party, which meant coming after the main event ended and most guests had left. Court transcripts show Diddy's defense team tried desperately to block this testimony. They filed 3 separate motions that morning alone, arguing that celebrity names were prejudicial and irrelevant to the actual charges. The judge disagreed, ruling that the special treatment of certain guests established a pattern of behavior central to the case. Davis then described his role with these VIP guests. I personally escorted them through service entrances, employee elevators, and underground parking areas. Testified the goal was always the same: make sure they were never photographed arriving or leaving. Davis explained that he coordinated with building security at hotels and private homes to ensure security cameras were temporarily disabled during these arrivals. One of the most troubling parts of his testimony involved the selective use of NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. Most industry events have everyone sign NDAs. Davis explained, but at these gatherings, only certain guests signed them. Mr. Combs called it different levels of secrecy depending on what happened in each room. The hierarchy of these parties became clear through Davis's testimony. Some celebrities mingled in the main areas, others were escorted to private rooms upstairs, and a select few were brought to what Davis called the inner room spaces that even most of Diddy's entourage couldn't access. The division was clear. Davis testified it wasn't based on fame or friendship, it was based on what they were there for. Then came the names. The prosecutor asked Davis to identify which celebrities on the VIP list participated in activities that were recorded without Their knowledge, the list included 3 major music artists, 2 well-known actors, and several social media influencers with millions of followers. As these names entered the court record, I watched Diddy's face change throughout. The trial, he'd maintained that confident, unbothered expression we've seen for decades. But when the third musician's name was read, something cracked his jaw, tightened his eyes, widened slightly. He leaned over and whispered something urgent to his attorney.
I would say this, it's kind of funny to me, man, is that Diddy used to hate Jay-Z. He hated Jay-Z enough where he was trying to get Ja Rule to go at Jay-Z. This is back in the early 2000s. I hope it's not the Bieber.
But if they saying that the guy is young and he's an A-lister, I can't think of that many black people.
And somebody that's more powerful, more of a celebrity than Diddy. You understand what I'm saying? If they were saying somebody that was more celebrity than Diddy, he was an A-lister, he was younger. You know what I'm saying? And if he's not black, it would have to be the Bieber. That's his name, Bieber? They said I got that wrong too. Justin Bieber. Allegedly. I don't know, bro.
The defense tried one last desperate move, requesting these names be struck from the record and asking for amistrial. The judge denied both requests. The names were now official court record, and by tomorrow they'd be all over the internet. What made this testimony particularly damaging wasn't just the celebrities involved, it was Davis's matter-of-fact description of what these VIPs participated in, activities that align perfectly with what Diddy's accusers had been claiming for months, activities that the defense had dismissed as impossible given Diddy's high-profile status, and careful image management. That careful image was crumbling with each name Davis revealed.
I heard about this tape that's being shopped around, a Diddy and another male. They say the other male is an A-list celebrity.
I would wonder if he's white or black. And if I'm looking at any black guys that are A-listers that's bigger than Diddy, there's only one that I could come up with. And there's a few I could come up with. Will Smith, he's bigger than Diddy. I would think Nick Cannon is bigger than Diddy. Who else on the black that are black actors or black in the business that's an A-lister that's bigger than Diddy?
What he preserved could be the smoking gun. Davis looked almost relieved when the prosecutor shifted to questions about security systems, like he was finally getting to tell. The real story he came to share. Mir Davis, can you describe the surveillance setup? At Mr. Comey's Miami residence, the prosecutor asked it seemed like a boring technical question. It wasn't. There were 24 cameras at the Miami property. Davis explained 6 exterior, 18 interior. 4 of those interior cameras were in rooms that guests didn't know were monitored. The courtroom got real quiet. Davis continued, after certain gatherings, I was ordered to delete all footage from specific cameras in specific time frames. But here's the bombshell. Davis didn't follow orders, not completely. I kept copies, he admitted. I started saving select videos in 2019 as my own protection when asked why he needed protection. Davis looked directly at Diddy because I knew what was on them. The prosecutor didn't. Miss a beat. Where are these copies now, Mr. Davis? In a safe deposit box at First National Bank in Atlanta, Davis replied. It contains everything: videos from Miami, New York, and LA properties, text messages, with instructions about what to do with certain guests' photos. I was told to delete. He called it his evidence of everything collection. You could hear ape and drop when Davis described what happened to guests who tried using their phones. There was a guest, a female artist, who pulled out her phone during one of these private gatherings. In 2021, Davis testified, Mr. Comey grabbed her wrist so hard it left marks. He took the phone and had me personally destroy it. He told her that's a $50,000 mistake and had here scored it out. Davis explained the entire phone protocol in detail. Guests were searched upon arrival. I personally did many of these searches. Phones went into locked boxes with identification tags. What happened if someone tried to sneak a device in? They were immediately removed from the property and blacklisted from future events. In 2 cases, there were financial penalties disguised as contract disputes and other business dealings. The testimony got even stranger when Davis revealed the home renovations in late 2019 after a neighbor complained about noises coming from the house during a gathering. Mr. Combs had specialized soundproofing installed in 4 rooms of the Miami house. Davis testified that similar modifications were made to properties in New York and LA over the next year. One of the most revealing moments came when Davis described Diddy's reaction to a technical problem in 2020. The security company informed us that certain footage couldn't be completely erased because it was backed up to cloud storage that they controlled. Davis explained Mr. Combs had the entire security system replaced. The next day paid triple the normal rate for immediate installation of a system. With local-only storage, the physical evidence Davis claimed to have preserved was substantial beyond. The security footage from multiple properties had detailed text message exchanges with explicit instructions about which guests to film and which to keep separate from. Others most damaging was what Davis called the payment list Mr. Combs kept records of people who were paid for their special services at these gatherings. Davis testified the list had code names, payment amounts, and dates of service. Davis claimed this list matched up perfectly with dates of certain private gatherings. Legal experts in the courtroom exchanged glances as this evidence was described. A former federal prosecutor sitting behind me whispered, "If even half of what he's saying is documented, the defense is finished." The evidence potentially corroborated allegations that prosecutors had previously been unable to prove with just victim testimony by the time Davis finished describing the evidence he'd preserved. Diddy's expression had completely transformed. The confident smile was gone for the first time since the trial began. He looked worried. His legal team huddled during a short break, frantically taking notes and making calls. They knew what everyone in that courtroom knew if Davis was telling the truth about what he kept. This case had just completely changed. 7 years of secrets finally spilled in court. Davis's testimony wasn't just damaging, it painted a picture of a calculated system designed to exploit and silence the prosecutors. Couldn't hide their satisfaction. As Davis stepped down from the witness stand, their case just got exponentially stronger. Diddy's legal team huddled immediately after court adjourned. Their strategy is toast. They're no longer denying these events happened, they're scrambling to reframe everything as consensual activities between adults. The trial continues next Monday with 3 more witnesses from Diddy's inner circle expected to testify. Rumor has it one of them has even more shocking evidence than Davis presented.